Hello, welcome to the University of Cumbria APTEM Onboarding Wizard video. In this video I'll be talking through the process of completing the application form within APTEM for the Paramedic degree apprenticeship. Before I go into that in any detail, I'm going to talk about some documents that you should have ready in electronic form, ready to upload into the system. And these can either be scanned documents, so PDFs, or they can be photographs. Either is acceptable. The first of these is an English and Maths qualification. For entry onto the programme, you will need to hold English and Maths qualifications at the equivalent of GCSE grade C or 4 or above, or Functional Skills level 2 or above. If you are unsure about the qualifications that you hold, please send copies to aptem@cumbria.ac.uk and ask the team to assess them and provide feedback. If your qualifications in English and Maths are non-UK qualifications, so for example an international baccalaureate, you can also submit a copy of a NARIC certificate. This is a statement of equivalence to UK qualifications, or again you can send the qualification itself in advance to us to assess and give you feedback. In addition to English and Maths, we also need to see evidence of achievement at level 3 or above. So these would be things such as BTEC or A-level qualifications that you can upload, or again any foreign equivalents that are non-UK certificates, and we can assess these for you. There are 4 specific entry routes onto the Paramedic degree apprenticeship, and I'll cover those later in the presentation. In able to be funded for the Paramedic apprenticeship, you also need to demonstrate that you have the right to work and be trained in the UK. So for UK citizens, what we ask is for a copy of their passport and or birth certificate to be uploaded. If you don't have a passport, we will need to see some other form of photo identification, such as a UK driving licence. And if you are a non-UK or non-EU citizen, we would also need to see a copy of a valid visa that can be uploaded into the system. So it would be a good idea to have all of these ready prior to starting the onboarding wizard. When we first set you up with an account in APTEM, you'll receive an email like this with a link inviting you to activate your account. This sometimes gets sent to a junk email box, so you should check. We will send out an introductory email in advance of this, and if you don't receive it within 20 minutes of the introductory email, please check your junk email. And when you click onto the link, that will take you through to APTEM, where you'll be invited to create a password and a signature. Once you've created the password and signature and activated your account, you'll be taken straight into the onboarding wizard. And there are a number of text steps, such as this one, that give instructions about what you need to do to complete the application. And it is important to read all the way through these, even though they are quite long. This one, for example, gives details of other information that you will need to hand, such as your national insurance number, the date that you started working for your current employer, your contracted weekly working hours, your annual leave entitlement. The first section of the application is the what we call the individual learner record. So this is the section where we gather evidence of your eligibility for funding. So it will contain details about your name, your address, privacy statements, funding and monitoring. The bit I would draw particular attention to here is the health declaration, where you're invited to declare whether or not you have a disability or learning support need. So for example, in this situation, I've declared that I have dyslexia and dyscalculia, and I've also declared that I normally receive additional time in exams and sometimes get materials in larger font sizes or on different coloured paper. If you make a declaration here, we will refer you to our disability support team, who will carry out an individual assessment of learning support needs, and then you'll be given additional support throughout the apprenticeship. At the end of this section, you'll be asked to sign the document to confirm that the information you've provided is accurate, and you'll do that just by clicking into a box and it will paste the signature that you created earlier into that box. On the next page, there are two documents that we ask you to read and then tick these boxes to confirm that you've read and understood. The first is a link to the Skills Funding Agency privacy statement. So this is telling you that the Skills Funding Agency will use the personal information that you provide to produce national statistics and also to be shared with any organisations that they ask to carry out quality audits on their behalf. So for example, Ofsted would be given information about you as a student in case they came in to inspect the university. The second one is the University of Cumbria Apprenticeship Privacy Notice. Again, this gives you details about why we gather the information from you, why we ask for that. It tells you the legal basis for gathering that information. And the thing I would point out here is that as a training provider, we have a duty to share information about you and your performance with your employer. So this would be things like attendance, attainment in exams, progress throughout the apprenticeship, and we will share that with your employer at regular times throughout the apprenticeship and in reviews, and we will involve the employer in reviews with you. The next section is the extended individual learner record, and again it's just covering more personal information about yourself and about your eligibility for funding. We do ask for details of your line manager, their contact email and the contact phone number so we can get in touch with them. As I said, we share information with line managers. And a section I would draw particular attention to here is the personal statement. Our admissions team ask that each applicant submits a personal statement of a minimum of 300 words. Now the easiest way to do this is to actually prepare it beforehand in something like a Microsoft Word document as a single paragraph with no paragraph breaks that you can then copy and paste over into this text box. If you try to copy more than one paragraph in, it will just take the text of the first paragraph and miss other sections out. In the next section, we are asking you to assess yourself against the skills, knowledge and behaviours that are set out in the apprenticeship standard for the paramedic degree apprenticeship. And we ask you to assess yourself at being at one of four levels. Now, as most people coming onto this programme will be experienced in working in the ambulance service, they might assume that they can assess themselves at level 4. What I would say is there's two factors here. One is that you're assessing yourself against the competencies that a fully qualified paramedic would rate 4 at. So that unless you're a fully qualified paramedic, you are unlikely to be able to demonstrate that you meet level 4 in all the areas. The other thing is that we use this to demonstrate that you need the apprenticeship. So if you do assess yourself as 4 against each of the competencies, what you're effectively saying is that you don't need the apprenticeship, and in that circumstance the ESFA will not fund you for the apprenticeship because they would deem you to be fully competent already. And what it looks like is this: you've got a series of statements, and against each statement you have the opportunity to go in, look at the criteria and select the level at which you think you currently operate, and then confirm that. And the thing I would point out here is that in most cases it appears as 1, 2, 3, 4, but occasionally the levels are mixed up, so we might say 1, 3, 4, 2. And the reason for that is to make sure that people are reading it and actually selecting the appropriate level rather than just clicking on the same box every time and working through it. And you must complete and record each of these before you can progress through the application and before we process it. As I mentioned earlier in the presentation, entry into this programme is dependent on you holding one of 4 entry requirements. And these are the Associate Ambulance Practitioner Programme with 2 years post-training experience, the Associate Ambulance Practitioner Programme without 2 years experience but with the Level 4 Bridging Programme provided by the university, a certificate in HE, Higher Education, in Pre-Hospital Emergency Care, or an equivalent. Now, if it is an equivalent, we will need to see a copy of that and we will need to assess it. or a level 3 qualification plus the level 4 University of Cumbria bridging programme, and they are the only 4 entry routes that we allow onto this programme. You need to select the appropriate one to tell us which one it is. We then come on to details of your prior learning. Again, there's quite a long introductory section describing how you complete this. But in essence, what it is a record of any qualifications that you hold. So we're looking for who was the training provider, the type of qualification, what the subject was, the level, start and end date, and the award date, and where you've got it, a copy of the certificate. The copy of the certificate is absolutely crucial here. So for example, in this situation, I've declared that I've completed the Associate Ambulance Practitioner Level 4, and that I've been an emergency ambulance technician, but I haven't uploaded a certificate. And in that circumstance, we would need to come back and get more information from you before we could progress your application. And adding details is as simple as clicking on Add, and then just typing in the details here and selecting the appropriate file to upload. This is why I say you would need to have these ready in electronic format beforehand. Now, regardless of your current level of English and Maths qualification, we also ask you to complete an initial assessment of the level at which you're operating at with English and Maths. This is a requirement of Ofsted. It's regarded as good practice, and it doesn't affect your eligibility for the programme, but it is something that we require you to do before we can process your application. In the next stage, you've got the opportunity to upload your English and Maths certificates to demonstrate exemption from having to do this. But then you have a link to an external website called BKSB, and you can use either of these links to go through to it. When the BKSB site opens up, you'll see that there are 2 courses available, and these are English and Maths. If you look into the English one, I've already completed some of this. It's the initial diagnosis that we want you to take, not the diagnostic assessment. So it's the initial assessment here. You click onto the initial assessment, and that will take you into the questions. Now you can see that I've completed this before. It gives you the opportunity to either select answers or pull or type in answers, and you can see along the bottom there's a red bar that gives you an indication of how much of the test I've completed. Each of these should take about 20 to 25 minutes to complete. Once you've done the functional skills assessment, you then click through to the next section. In terms of DBS checks and health certificates, you don't need to provide any evidence to us. We will get that directly from your employer. And then you'll get the completion notice. What it will do here is remind you that you need to upload copies of your passport and birth certificate after completion of the onboarding wizard. So you then click Finish. It'll open up a PDF document that asks you to confirm what you've entered. So this is the PDF document. It's just a summary of the information that you've already entered. And at the bottom, there'll be another box that you can click into. It'll enter your signature and record the fact that you've completed the onboarding wizard. Now, at first, when you're in AppTerm, having completed that, you won't be able to see many details. More detail will appear once we've assessed your application and transferred you onto a delivery programme. But until that point, all you'll be able to see is the onboarding wizard and this section, which is called Documents. Now in here, you've got a section on the right at the top called My Documents. It shows what's already been uploaded, and it gives you the opportunity to upload others. So here, for example, I've already put in a passport, a birth certificate, and a visa. And if there's anything else that you think is relevant for us to see, this is the opportunity to upload it here. Again, just by clicking Upload Documents, selecting an appropriate file, I don't think it will allow me to enter the same document a second time, so I won't do that here. But it's as simple as that. And that concludes the onboarding wizard. In total, it will probably take you something like 40 to 50 minutes to go through and complete this, and probably about 20 to 25 minutes for each of the BKSB assessments to go through those. If you have any concerns or any questions about the AppTerm onboarding wizard, please contact us at aptem@cumbria.ac.uk. One of my team will pick up your query and get straight back to you, and if we have any questions we will follow them up and come back to you directly. Thank you very much for watching this.